Anyway, as soon as the Pharaoh finds out about the whole situation, because he sees the mark on the girl,
Yeah.
I think the makeup is to show that you can never be touched. I think that was the plan because it works.
Yes.
And as soon as people find out, as soon as he finds out the Pharaoh is murdered immediately, like they had planned that.
Yeah, no, that actor probably, they're like, dog, we just need you for like 5 minutes. That's all.
Dog. And then these people find out as they almost immediately break into the room. This movie is late for a meeting. It's got to be somewhere. So it just as soon as they show up, Imhotep bounces and Aksu Namin self-deletes, choosing to be dead by her own hand than be controlled by anyone.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, but when I first watched this movie, my first thought was, this movie couldn't be made today. Only for it to be followed by a nice girl boss moment like that to happen. And it feels legit, which I believe would have been done differently today, I think. But I still think it's pretty cool. I like
What do you think would have happened to that?
Yeah?
What do you think would have happened to that?
That makeup outfit wouldn't have happened. She wouldn't have showed up in that makeup. Definitely.
I mean, we still have like Mystique in this day and age.
First of all, Mystique, as you know her, if we're talking about OG Mystique, I feel like if you look at the two Mystiques, they're very two different looks. Yes. OG Mystique looks very different and very sexual compared to what's her face Mystique.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence. I think visually, they made some changes there. I'm not saying they added extra clothing, but I feel like it's more to do. It's definitely more PG than the first Mystique.
Well, until Bryan Singer came in, I mean, because Days of Future Past Mystique, looks like the OG Mystique. But I do agree with you. There's a lot of censorship with the new Mystique versus the OG Mystique.
Exactly. So I feel like that's not something that could be done today.
Yeah.
I don't think that would have happened like that.
That's true. Okay.
Also, it would have been more CG. That whole half that room would have been a CG thing. But anyway, Imhotep has taken her body. Because it cuts to them at night. Imhotep has stolen her corpse and returned her soul to her body in a ritual.
Yes.
But in a very jarring cut, we go from her coming to life to the Pharaoh Imhotep being captured. There is clearly a cut scene here. Because she wakes up to him having a knife over his head like this, and you're like, okay, what? Are you about to stab her?
Yeah, I think also, maybe the narration wants you to like pick up the pieces.
Yeah, I think the narration was designed to pick up the pieces. I wouldn't be surprised if the narration was added afterwards.
Either that, or there was an actual scene, but maybe it was too graphic, and the studio said they must cut it out.
Yes, either that, or I think it may have taken too long. Like, I think they were like, you got to keep this movie under 2 hours, and they had to struggle to cut. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Because you find that maybe they wanted to make Imhotep a tragic hero of sorts.
Yes.
Before we get to see him later on in the movie, because like he comes like maybe halfway in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, and that's for a reason though. But yeah, anyway, we get the giant cut. We moved it. Then we moved to his entire crew being murdered, along with his tongue being cut out.
Yeah.
They shove him into a tomb with everything attached.
Alive.
The explanation gets a bit weird, as it sounds like a superpower. As it sounds like they're giving you superpowers instead of punishment. They're like, "Hey guys, we're gonna punish you so hard that you're gonna come out as Superman." At the end of it, it's like, okay.
But I guess they just don't care because they won't be alive by then.
Yeah, it's not their problem. Yeah.
But the thing that I was asking myself is, who made that order? Because the pharaoh's dead. Like, is there a new pharaoh already?
I would assume so. Either that or the gods have more power than I thought, which is hilarious.
Yeah, that was not explained. But I guess for a narration, like you said, some of it has to be cut out.
Yeah. But also, just a fun fact, some trivia. Arnold Vosloo, when he was given the role, right? He said he wanted, before he agreed to the role, he wanted to make it he wanted to make Imhotep's point of view straightforward. Okay. Not, I am a mustache twirling villain, you know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I mean? He said he wanted to be a twisted version of Romeo and Juliet.
Ah, makes sense.
So you can kind of see that that Imhotep, and you could argue Aksu Namun.
Yeah, bro, like mentioning that name all the time.
It's a name, because you know me, I mentioned character names.
Yes.
But yeah, we move to the future where we see, by the way, it's only 7 minutes in. That whole thing happened in 7 minutes. Pop, 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 pop.
Sorry, I think I cut you off, I'm sure you were trying to say that Imhotep and Aksu Namun were basically Romeo and Juliet.
Yes. Yes, basically. But because, you know, they're one, instead of them, like, you know, killing themselves, no, these guys are killing people. But yeah, as the speaker, we move to the, I would say the 19th century. Probably like 1910, somewhere there, I would say.
1923 to be specific. That's what they say.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh! I must have missed that trivia. Okay. Ha! That was a good guess by me, I guess. Because I knew it wouldn't be close to World War II. But anyway. I guess World War I because of the guns. But yeah. As the speaker, our narrator, appears, he's watching over a battlefield. His horsemen marching on a group of what I can only assume are the Foreign Legion, because they look like they're dressed as Foreign Legion. We then meet our hero. So
he explains himself as the Magi, right? That's a group of Magi,
yeah. We then meet our hero, Rick O'Connell, in a nice little cut. I thought the cut was very nice. Like, I don't compliment the directing a lot in this movie, but some of these cuts, like especially this opening one, beautiful. Anyway, the battling and the firing ensues. Low key, I am starting to hate the CG because this battle looks incredible. As we see Rick's side taking down many, but being overwhelmed as Rick fights his way into a retreat, working his way backwards. The fight turns into a disaster as Rick is running for his life until he's finally surrounded and faces a line of guns, only for the horse to buck and the entire army to retreat.
Yeah. Before you get there, I think, okay, first of all, the captain bailed out.
Yeah.
Then Benny, is it Benny?
Yeah.
They both run and Benny just closes the door, which is, I guess you could say, is a foreshadowing.
Yeah,
of what's gonna happen later on. Because Benny is like, he looks out for himself, bro.
Yeah. And he leaves people behind, and Rick never does.
Yeah.
Which I think is a nice way of showing who Rick is. I mean, they show him very well here. Like, this man is dashing, and he's out here. None of his bullets miss anyone. But everything happens here fast, by the way. Like, this retreat is fast. The overwhelming of forces is fast. We are late for our meeting. I think they were trying to keep time. Makes me wonder, though, with all this energy, whether or not this was probably... I wouldn't be surprised if this was Zack Snyder days, there might be a bigger cut of this movie somewhere. Like a 3-hour cut of this movie somewhere. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, but I mean, think about it. Back in the day, when you gave people the impression that this is an action-packed movie, you needed to quickly rush to the action as much as possible. So
True. But this is the thing I always say that I think is valuable about that is one of the reasons I always recommend people read Pulp Fiction, not the movie, but the actual art form called the actual style of bookmaking called Pulp Fiction, is that they had very few words. So what they'd have to do is have good scenes to make up for the words that are missing. Kind of like with what we discussed with Kenneth Branagh last week about Mummy, about like how he used dramatic scenes to really like cover ground.
Right.
That's what a lot of writers have to do when they try to do stuff in a hurry, which is I think what happens here. But I'll get to that later. Anyway, he looks back to see the statue that he had been standing over. An ominous image in the sand forms, and Rick runs away into the open desert. Ardeth Bay. Anyway, our narrator makes eye contact with him, and they leave him to the desert to die, ending the whole sequence. This is great because they use because of the use of show don't tell. They could have used dialogue for all of this.
Yeah.
Time was against them, and I'm sure they actually, like I said, they shot more footage here, but it's likely cut down here, yeah.
But also, this goes back to one of the lessons that I've learned about watching Ronin when we were reviewing Ronin is if all the characters know what's happening, there's no need to explain anything to anybody.
Yes.
That's why even here there was no need. Like, who are you talking to? Like, even if the Magi was to say something like, "Yeah, no, people had to retreat because that place maybe where that guy was, where Brandon Fraser was at the time was cursed." Who are the people you're talking to know this already? Why mention it?
Yeah.
So there's no need to mention. That's why they don't. There's no need to mention it.
Exactly.
So the scene itself, you figure it out, or okay, this is the reason, because immediately after, you do see like Imhotep like through sand or whatever. So you're like, okay, that's the reason why these people retreated.
Yeah, and also let's not forget the fantastic use of visuals in the previous scene where they show Anubis, and they show this man being buried at Anubis's feet. And they show time passing and Anubis's face growing old. And then later on, when we see that he's at the base of Anubis, there's no need for words. We can already see he's where we've seen before.
Right.
It's done the talking for us. No need for someone to go, he's under the statue of Anubis. Thanks.
Right.
I mean, you know that classic line of bad writing? The famous words? Have you heard?
As you know, words.
There we go, yes. The famous words of bad writing. As you know.
Haven't you found yourself using those words? I found myself using those words all the time. I'm like, oh no.
Oh yeah, and it's a good tool. It means you've made a mistake. Go back.
Yeah.
And that can hurt your feelings as a writer because you're like, no man, what I wrote was brilliant.
Yeah, no. This is how someone is supposed to say it. But if the person knows already, why say it?
Why are you saying it? It's perfection. Yeah. I love it so much. But yeah, we end up with an exciting action scene and a stunning backstory. And they were good.
That scene kind of reminded me of The Lion King. When the hyenas are watching Simba from the cliff and they see him running away. And they're like, they basically cannot do anything. It's like, look, let him go. It's fine. Yeah. He'll die eventually. Yes. You know what I mean? That's the conclusion that they had. Yeah. Same thing happens here in the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I like that one. This is real life. And it just looks, him in the desert looks so amazing. They just don't make movies like this anymore. Anyway, cut to present day. And a very nerdy Evelyn, I assume a librarian, which turns out to be right.
So this must be, I think, 1925 or 26, because it was like 2 years
later, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 25, 26, yeah. I assume, a library. She's clumsy and she destroys the entire library, just so you know, okay, this person's a mess.
You know what? That's one thing. One thing that I also like to include in my characters is like, you show us this irresistible, extremely beautiful human being. Then you also show us her flaw. Because you don't want them to be unrealistic. They have to be relatable and realistic. So like, okay, she's a nerd and she's clumsy. Immediately. So I like that.
Oh, definitely. It kills two birds with one.
Yeah.
It kills two birds with one stone. And also, what I like about it is it makes you feel more human. It's what I call the Bridget Jones effect. Like, what I love about Bridget Jones is the mistakes she makes her feel so human.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, we cut. Yeah. So after that, we get the head librarian who comes in and then starts yelling at her, explaining the backstory.
Yeah.
Her backstory about her being basically an orphan. But yeah. After that, she leaves. We hear a sound, and we get like a little temporary. I feel like they're trying to set us up for a pattern. We get a little bit of horror comedy. Like they're trying to show that this is very emotionally like horror comedy action, horror comedy action.
Right.
So yeah, she goes from the mess of the museum to go look for these sounds, and we go from comedy to tension back to comedy. As it turns out, Jonathan is playing a prank.
Right.
And we discover more.
But here's the thing: why did she leave again? She wanted to make it up to her boss, right?
No, she just heard a sound.
She just what?
Leave what?
The library.
What do you mean?
Like, why did she go to her brother in the first place?
Oh, she heard a sound. Because she heard was the librarian left that way, but she heard a sound that way. So she went to go investigate. Okay. And then you get the tense music and the silence. Yeah.
The music is not bad anyway.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But there are moments where I felt like the guy was just like, no, I'm going to skip like this entire part of the movie without music.
Basically. And compared to last week, wherever the music was almost as loud as the movie. As loud as the dialogue.
So loud, dude. Like, I can't even imagine how that must have been like at the theaters.
Yeah.
It must have been, probably must have been extremely loud. But it's also like Princess Mononoke. The music in there is loud.
Also pronounced, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
It was a character. So that's why I'm like, over here, hearing it calm again is almost like it feels like a reversal.
Yeah.
But yeah, we found a treasure. They have a talk. So they talk to each other. We discover more about them. She's trying to do other things beyond this, but they keep shutting her down because she doesn't have enough experience. And then it turns out that he's found a treasure. One that.
What does the brother do?
I think he's a treasure hunter as well. He's a treasure hunter, kind of like Rick, but his treasure hunting is garbage.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, maybe he's an archaeologist because there's no way this guy.
No way you could say he is because he knows the hieroglyphs, but there's no way. I think he's just a treasure hunter, just like with other guy. Yeah.
And also, I often wondered if maybe this entire thing was not inspired by Indiana Jones as well. Obviously, yes, it is a remake, but obviously, like, there must have been Indiana Jones inspiration somewhere.
Absolutely. No question. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Not even in doubt. But yeah, they show the thing, and then we cut to back into the library, where we get a massive slice of exposition as the curator accidentally burns away the most important part of the map and warns them that following their dream is very dangerous. Now then, the next scene, the movie doesn't even debate on if they should. It just sets up their histories in such a way that it's not even a question. We jump to the next scene. We're in the prison. Fun fact, that whole prison wasn't even a real prison. It was actually a hotel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Which is crazy.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But yeah.
But then it goes back to what you were saying about like using District 9 as an example that if you have a location and you can shoot as many scenes as possible, just use it. Utilize it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It turns out the treasure that Jonathan has belonged to Rick, which is why for the first, because he said he could never find anything useful, but now he's got something useful. It's because it belonged to Rick. And he looks like a caveman inside the prison.
Yeah, so basically they're just alluding that this guy for 2 years, this is basically his 2 years. So you see it
basically, yes,
in his look.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, for all his life has fallen apart for the next 2 years. Yes. And he says he's been to the city of the dead. And if she wants to go, she has to save him. And he sneaks a kiss, which completely affects her. I thought that was really funny. And then I think it's a fun scene. She actually manages to save him.
Yeah.
Kind of get to see what her determination and what her determination is like. Yeah, it's a short sequence, but it shows how good everyone is.
She's definitely a hero at heart. That's one thing she is. And I think also, I guess they wanted to establish this quite early that she's not going to be like a damsel in distress. Like she's going to be like a very pivotal character.
Yeah. Exactly. She can have agency. Yes.
Yes.
Because it's her. She saves him. Yes. It's a short sequence, yeah. We get to see her thinking. We get to see the value of the fabled location because he changes. The warden changes his mind immediately, and we get to see Rick being a wild man. Anyway, this ends the first act. Everything is set up, and the choice to leave has been made. No one could argue. There was no real debate. There was no challenge to her leaving, and no reason why she would not go.
Right.
It was clear this was not her home. The movie chooses to skim past this for comedy and the adventure itself, focusing on the setup more. In my opinion, this was a mistake because of the quality of the actors. But in terms of storytelling, it makes perfect sense and it gets straight to the point. I think they could have lingered more on this or maybe spent more time building small arcs for them. But it wasn't necessary at the same time. They don't need it.
You're right, because I mean, like I said, you could say like the first half of this movie is about all three main characters and us like getting to know them getting to click with each other. So if you were to add some of those things, then this is now a series and not a movie anymore.
True enough. Absolutely, you're right. Like I think if it was a TV series, this would have been a whole episode. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we headed to the river now. Evelyn is talking about Rick being uncivilized when a whole other kind of Rick shows up and he's all cleaned up and it leaves her in genuine shock.
Yeah.
We get a nice setup for the prison warden showing up. And then 25 minutes in, we get our first proper set piece. And this works as the act's first obstacle. We quickly jump into the night where the warriors that killed Rick's men appear, the men in black. We know they're up to no good as they pull out a shiny knife that basically glistens in front of the camera like, look, I'm a bad guy. Look at the knife.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. They just needed lens flare. And him
That's what I'm saying. It's a bits and pieces of it feel like old Hollywood. Mm-hmm. It's in the nose. And I think it was deliberate.
Definitely. Yeah. We set up where everyone is. We find out the other group. We find out about the other group that's headed that way. We see Jonathan playing cards on the entertainment deck. Rick is there on the move. We set up that Evelyn is reading alone. And as that is happening, we see rowboats appearing by her side. And as
those are basically like secondary characters because they are prominent throughout the movie. It's just that we don't know them. We just don't know those actors.
Yeah.
But they're quite prominent in the movie.
You could say they're one-dimensional characters, and that's all you really get from them. And they kind of get things done.
Yeah.
They push the story forwards because you need someone to die and you need someone to be dumb. You know what I mean? But yeah, as a clever moment, we get a jump scare after all we've seen. It's very clever because like you see the boats, you see her by herself, and then when the hand hits her shoulder, you're like, ah. I normally hate jump scenes, but I thought this was a clever place to put one, especially in a comedy. Anyway, Rick is setting up his guns and she's going over her goals and dreams. Their connection forms, but it's only broken by his idiocy because he doesn't get that kiss meant something because he's an idiot.
It's like, no, I was just like about to die, so that's
why. So let me just grab the nearest thing.
Yeah. It's just like, wow, really?
Yeah.
Like what?
Anyway, she leaves and we bump into Benny, the guy that abandoned him. Rick throws Benny overboard when he notices footsteps. Wet footsteps. We cut to Evelyn, who is attacked by the warriors in that classic down mirror, up mirror jump scene. Like this movie actually uses a lot of genuine horror movie tropes. Have you noticed?
Up mirror, down mirror. Okay, I do see what you're saying.
Well, you know that I'm sure you've not seen enough horror movies to know that when someone's in the bathroom, when they look inside the mirror, 1 second it's fine, then they move it and they close it. The next second there's someone there.
Yeah.
It's a classic horror movie move.
Yeah.
Same thing with the jump scare in the museum. These are classic horror movie tropes. Yeah. Anyway, the boat starts to burn in the attack. It turns out that these guys are after the map and the key. Now they don't even know the other people don't even know what the key is.
Yeah, she was like, "What key? What are you talking about?" I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Then we get a fun and to the point battle with Rick fighting his way through and just not missing. This is actually a very good. I would say this is a Disney battle on the level of Pirates of the Caribbean. And I would even say potentially better than Pirates of the Caribbean. Because I'm sure you remember the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, right?
The first one more than any other, yeah.
which is so weird. I prefer the other ones actually. It's kind of funny. The third one's my favorite, but yeah.
Really?
One thing you notice if you pay
That's
attention.
my least favorite, but okay.
It's my absolute favorite. Like it just tells the best story. But anyway, what's nice about it, or rather, what's kid-friendly about it, is you'll notice the Marines are confusingly bad at their jobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The soldiers are terrible.
Like the troopers.
Yes. And there's a part where they take a rope and they all like swing around these guys and they go like this. And that apparently kills 3 Marines at the same time. And you're like, okay, well, that's insane.
Didn't you guys get training?
Yeah, what is happening right now? You guys could have slid under that rope before it crushed you.
Yeah.
Or like jumps over something and it like breaks the floor on the wood, and then 2 Marines jump into and you're like, why?
Why?
But like stuff like that, it doesn't matter because it's a kids movie and
it's a Disney movie.
Exactly. And it's to kind of show that the good guys are good.
And
they're talented. Kind of like, you know how referees in WWE seem to be made out of toilet paper?
Yeah.
Like they so much as get bumped, they just melt. Now, they do that on purpose because it makes the referees, it makes the wrestlers
seem super like
yes, it makes them seem like gods, like demigods.
Yeah.
As in for like these are another level of human being.
Yeah.
That's the idea. And I think that's what the Pirates of the Caribbean does. And in a low-key way, that's kind of what this movie does. But because it's guns instead of fists, it ends up looking more realistic.
It does look realistic, but it goes back to something I think I mentioned in one of the reviews that we did. There's barely any blood in this movie.
Oh yeah. And this man is out here nailing headshots, like he's got people down immediately.
Well, there's no blood.
Yeah, just and then that guy in the distance is gone. That guy.
And I think that's why you can watch a movie like this and still not feel disturbed by it because there's no blood. But you know that this guy is a killer. He just killed someone. But at the same time, you don't feel like he's a cold-blooded killer because there's no blood. If it was Tarantino directing this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is funny. Yeah, you're right. Which is funny because if you think about it, there's still body horror. It's there's some Cronenberg type stuff here. But at the same time, it's still better than blood. Kind of funny.
I guess you could say it's well balanced. If you're a kid and you're watching this, you would be petrified.
Exactly.
If you're an adult and you can look past the CGI, yeah, it could get to you, but not as much as like a Freddy Krueger or like a Jason. No.
True.
Yeah.
And also remember, if you're watching it at that time period, you wouldn't have thought the CGI was bad.
100%.
For its time.
Do you think it was Lucasfilm that made this animation? Because it looks Lucasfilm-like. It looks like early Pixar type of quality.
Now that one I couldn't tell you.
Oh, okay.
But it could be.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because I mean that company changed the game when it comes to like CGI though.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. So it's just never mind. Anyway, yeah. Yeah. We get some character moments, we get great jokes, we poke fun at the Americans who basically just have like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The boat goes down, unfortunately, and the 2 groups part ways to both sides of the Nile. And we cross this is the definition of fun and games, as we get to see fire and bullets and lay out the competing groups within the storyline. All the while, we have not opened the tomb yet and seen the mummy, which is actually kind of an interesting point of storytelling when it comes to objects of desire.
Right.
Just like with Frankenstein last week, the object of desire is found in the middle of the story, right? And in that case, and in this case, the object of desire is literally an object, the mummy, Frankenstein.
Right.
In Tully, the object of desire was peace, which is a more abstract idea, but is found at the end.
Yes.
In the Matrix,
once the couple.
Yeah, once the husband realizes what's going on.
Yeah, then the peace thing becomes more apparent.
Exactly. Once she makes a connection with her alter self, and the husband starts to understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Finds peace.
Yeah.
When it's in the Matrix, the object of desire is the truth. In the movie Basic, which is the one
Basic, yes.
and in the
Which
Matrix,
covered. Mm-hmm.
The object of desire is truth. They try to find the truth.
Yes.
Even in the Matrix. Anyway, when the object is in the middle, what you normally get is object and then consequence.
Mm.
In Frankenstein and the Mummy, they get it, and then it becomes the following issue.
Mm.
When it's at the end, normally the consequence is what you give up, let go, or sacrifice in order to get the object.
Mm.
And then you get some examples where the object is within another object, where it turns out the true object is within that object. For example, Bridget Jones, she desires a man and ends up with two men, really.
Mm.
But the true object, what she needed was actual love. And I almost argue a love for herself, really.
Yes, which is something she does realize after that fight, when those two men fight, and then she just realizes that.
Yeah, and also she's better off when she realizes she gets better results when she fixes herself.
Yeah.
When she fixes herself and she gets her own job and starts doing things for herself.
Yes.
Guy number 1 and guy number 2 show up again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When she was just looking for a guy, she loses both. When she's looking for herself, she gets both men. And then she picks the one that actually means the best for her. So yeah. And one thing a good story will have in common between all of these things they all have in common is that there's a need for the character to change. You must change. If the story is bad, you don't change. The situation changes.
Right.
The story is good, you change.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that was fun to notice in filmmaking.
Yeah, no, that's you really hit the nail on the head right there. Because all the films that you've made references of, the characters do change. Like you mentioned Tully, well, the husband, and you also mentioned Bridget Jones. It's the same thing. The characters do change, and I guess things change for the better for them.
Exactly. Look at the Matrix. Neo has to believe, and then he changes when he starts to believe.
Yes. He becomes someone completely different, actually. Yeah. Because initially we identify with him as Mr. Anderson, but by the time the film ends, we identify with him as Neo.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I hope you guys are writing notes, because that's a very important note there.
It ends on a funny joke with the one guy saying, "I've got the horses," and the other guy going, "We're on the right side of the river."
Yeah.
That was a great little finishing off there.
Yeah. I don't get it though. I don't get what.
Yeah.
Are they competing or what?
Yeah. In the scene, they're like, "We're gonna bet $500. Who's gonna get there first?"
Oh, okay.
Anyway, we're on a desert outpost with children playing. In the previous scene, we get a moment. We get a what a man moment when he cleans up and she looks at him, and now we get a what a woman moment as because remember she left last time we saw was in a nightgown, so now she has to get new clothes, and Rick seems to realize for the first time, oh, this is a beautiful woman in front of me.
Yeah, this is when they got the camels, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not something you really see in film anymore, because I think people get upset at the idea, but I still think it's a cool moment. Time passes, we see
people of the opposite sex staring at each other and give us the impression that they might get with each other. It's not accepted anymore.
No. You're a woman. That's right. You know what I mean?
I see.
You dressed sexy.
I see, but look, I mean, sometimes men, honestly speaking, they don't pay my attention to such until those moments. I know it shouldn't happen in every movie, but sometimes you really don't see someone like that until either they, do like I don't know, if they apply makeup or they wear different clothing or straighten their hair or whatever.
Yeah, but that's the idea. That's what makes it so offensive to some people. It's the in fact, they made a comedy movie about it, didn't they? The ugly supermodel type thing. One with Chris Evans. It was a comedy. I don't think it's another teen movie. Where like you get the ugly supermodel, she's a nerd, and they clean her up, and it's like, oh my god, you're actually a human being.
It is not another teen movie.
Huh?
It is not another teen movie. Because the girl was a nerd.
Yes. Yeah. They actually make fun of that. And that's why you kind of see less of it now. But then again, this movie was made in the 90s, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, the whole nerd who cleans herself up thing. Unacceptable today.
So the Princess Diary wouldn't be made today?
I don't think, not in the same way, no.
Yeah, but also like, those movies were also superficial if you think about it. Like, you just take off your glasses and then you...
Exactly. That's why now people have started making fun of it.
Now no.
Yeah.
I think that's why I liked a movie called Baby Daddies with Eddie Griffin, where they gave him a whole makeover.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the comments at the end was like, "Hey, dude, you're still one ugly ass mother effer." They made him look clean and neat and gave him new clothes. I was like, dog, no.
Didn't do shit. Yeah. Absolutely right.
Oh man, that was hilarious. Ugh.
That's absolutely right. Anyway, yeah, we see the warriors, the same people in black. They catch sight of the foursome as they walk through the night. Rick sees they're discovered, but you can also you get a feeling that, okay, everyone is near the target now. We're nearly there. We suddenly hear Benny's familiar voice and discover Benny's team. Everyone is waiting for something. When the rising sun changes the view and we see the city, you can see that this shot, they shot day for night. You can tell they shot day for night here because it's just like a little brown, like a grayness that they added to the thing. You're like, this is the middle of the day. But anyway, when the sun rises, they all take off and they chase after. We get a funny camel race, where Benny proves himself to just be the worst. But then Rick completely body slams this man off a camel. We get a great view as we see a great non-CGI view of them running. And it's actually stunning.
It is. Oh, by the way, the guy that had ordered Brendan Fraser to be hanged is following them now, or rather, is tagging along.
Oh yes,
yeah. the smelly guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they.
Today. You couldn't make
that's
that.
That's how they describe.
Yeah.
That's how they described him.
So. I know. I just called him the prison warden, but I'm like, oh my god, this is the 90s. you can't do this.
No, you can't.
Anyway.
Bless you for the entire recording. I think I need to just say that. I feel like otherwise I'm gonna say it, bless you each and every time. Yeah.
Anyway. They make it to the city, and now they're in different digging locations. And oh jeez. The Yankees are looking down at them. We've got multiple moments between Evelyn and Rick, and you can kind of see them kind of getting into each other bit by bit. They made it in first, and now we're in the tunnels, and we're back to the horror vibe as we get strange sounds, only to discover that it's the Americans, and we're stuck in this gun-to-gun standoff.
Yes.
Which I thought was just visually stunning. I thought that was a great piece of film.
No, it was. It honestly was. It was fantastic. I think I even took a screenshot of it because I was truly. I truly saw what you saw right there. Just give me a second. Just want to share quickly. The two moments. Okay. There we go. So there's this one.
Oh yes.
And then there is this one.
That's right before, yes.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. I don't know if Tomb Raider was out already by this time, but these kind of like movies and series were really popular. I mean, remember Relic Hunter was a thing at this time.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Xena and Hercules and
Yeah, those predate, definitely. Those are before.
yeah, Sinbad.
That was after. Lara Croft is after.
Oh, when did Lara Croft come out?
2001.
Ah, okay.
Remember
But
the games?
this was a time where these type of movies were in.
Oh yeah, when they were big-ish.
Yeah.
Definitely. But yeah, moving on. Oh yeah, side note, the Egyptians get terrible treatment, like it's wild. Even the warden gets wild treatment. Like this was very 90s. Anyway, we get a reminder of how dangerous things are when the Egyptians with the Americans are sacrificed and they get murdered by the acid. Then we get a double dose of that when the warden is killed by the bugs.
Yes.
Anyway, the danger sequence, and that really shows, okay, this is no joke. And then the sequence ends with them camping at night.
Yeah.
Their time reminiscing is broken by a raid by the warriors from before. But this time, the raiding party stops in the name of shedding blood, because it's been a massacre. And then Mr. Bay gives them a day to leave. They combine to take a refreshing nap, trusting that the enemy will just not attack them. They just believe it. I mean, good for them. And then they get drunk. They're just like, yeah, these guys that are trying to kill us will not come back. Yeah?
Clearly, that sin wouldn't be made today because you cannot just take their word for it.
Yeah.
Like these guys almost killed you guys just now.
Yeah. And then they're like, tequila, 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 tequila. And then, yeah. It's insane.
I actually didn't think of it like that until you mentioned it. Like, how gullible are you guys to just think that these guys will not come back?
Yeah. They're like, enough bloodshed. I just come back by foot and sneak in. Then kill you. Then there'd be less bloodshed on my side.
Yeah.
But anyway, they get blackout drunk.
Unless these people were like, okay, look, guys, in as much as these guys are saying what they're saying, let's take shifts. Like we will sleep like for 2 hours, and then after 2 hours, you guys will then.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to get drunk.
Huh?
You're not allowed to get drunk if you're taking shifts. You can't be drunk on your shift.
Okay, no, fair enough.
I mean, it's crazy. It's ridiculous. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
But we need to have a moment where they talk about themselves. So they get blackout drunk and they have another moment going over their histories. And she goes over her need to travel and be there. Something which should have probably that I think was pushed back from the first act.
Okay.
Anyway, we cut to the next day. The American part, or rather, we cut to some activity. Turns out the American party has found and opened a box with a curse in it. The people freak out and leave the Americans there before the box opens. We cut to Rick's group as they prepare their own treasure. They open the box and find the mummy inside. Yes. We cut back to the Americans who have the Book of the Dead and gold. We are given more backstory from the start of the story. The sequence continues with Evelyn stealing the Book of the Dead. Evelyn, in her genius, reads the book and the mummy awakens, marking the midpoint of the movie, and the desert comes to life in a mega swarm of locusts.
Do you... Yeah. Do you blame Evelyn for reading that book?
Before you even go any further. Absolutely.
Because here's the thing. Sometimes it kind of like, we were talking about Flight the other day.
Yeah.
Denzel Washington's Flight. Not that we did a full review. We didn't do a full review. That's just a comment.
Yeah.
Where, yes, you saved the passengers, but you were the cause because you were drunk. You flew drunk.
Well, so no. Yes, I know what you're saying. Absolutely. Absolutely. He saved the passengers, but he was drunk. Yes. Even though they do say that there was a mechanical issue.
Yes.
So technically, he didn't start it, but he was drunk for the whole thing.
Right.
You can't have that. That's insane.
Yes.
So no, I agree with you.
It's like you read the book that you were not supposed to read.
Yes.
So you created this monster. Even if you do save the world, you were the cause because you read the book.
Yeah. It's like, and all because of, she's like, no, well, you see, I don't believe in this. Oh, okay. Oh, in that case, please carry on. Keep up with the good work.
Right.
Same thing with the box. The guy's like, maybe we shouldn't open this. And he's like, oh, you believe in curses? Well, you're being silly. Anyway, open the box. The only difference is they get consequences. Like immediate.
Yeah, that's true.
She, on the other hand, she gets kidnapped and gets put in a nice dress.
And kisses the villain a few times.
Yep. Which is a decision she makes. Except for the one time. But yeah. Anyway, one of the Americans who opened the box is left alone, and we get another great horror sequence. The sound is getting closer horror sequence.
Yes.
Another classic, until, it's right behind him and he's caught. We cut to Rick, who's
there are
being
a lot of off-screen.
Yeah.
There are a lot of off-screen deaths.
Oh yeah.
Which you see through like the shadows or something on the walls.
Oh yes. Otherwise, they're gonna lose their rating. No PG for you.
Yeah, and like, there's no way you can't show blood.
Yeah.
If you didn't make it an off-screen death.
I mean, how they rip the guy's eyes out when there's no blood.
Yeah.
Great.
Dude, even tongue, there's no blood anywhere.
No blood.
That's when I noticed this no blood thing. I was like, wait a minute.
These are some of the best.
Tongue, but there's no blood. How?
Because you got to keep that rating, buddy. Though I would say this though. I kind of hate today's blood because what they do is they put CG blood, and you can always tell. Because that way, if the movie is PG, they can just remove it. Then if the movie is not PG, they just put the blood back.
Right.
That kind of thing. I hate it so much.
Especially when it looks really, really bad.
Yep. That's why I miss squibs, man. Squibs are... For those who don't know, squibs are that little explosion where the blood comes out when you get shot in a movie, in an old school movie.
Yeah.
There's a little piece of a blood pack with a bomb, with a firework inside of it that bursts. And that's how you get the shooting effect. Anyway, yeah, we cut to Rick being chased by the mega swarm of carnivorous bugs that move endlessly as they run, only for them to lose Evelyn as they escape. Yeah. Evelyn separated and found the lost American, but his eyes and tongue have been taken. We see the Americans and Rick get to find each other, and then they find Evelyn, and they all head off running, and you get that funny and then him going scene, which I thought
sometimes it genuinely feels like he was improvising some of those.
You would think so, because remember, he does it again and he gets the reverse effect later on.
Yes.
So it's like, are you improvising? Are you not improvising? Was that planned? I thought that was really funny.
It was because this guy is fearless.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even earlier on when they were on the ship and people kept missing him, there's a point where if Rachel Weisz's character didn't move him, he would have died.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. But yeah, they're running off and end up getting caught by the Warriors.
Yes.
And the Warriors go, "Oh, you've killed us all, But then instead of killing them, they're like, you know what? We're just gonna try and stop this creature from breaking out.
Because he was like, "No, I took care of it. You don't have to worry." He's like, "No, you didn't take care of it."
Take care of shit, man. And it's so funny because he's like, normal things won't work, and he's like, no, I promise you, the normal things work.
Yeah.
But yeah, things end with Benny as the mummy corners him. And what follows is honestly the funniest list of prayers that I've ever seen, as he goes from holy symbol to holy symbol before ending with the Hebrews. The Jews, of course, being Pharaoh's slaves in the past. The mummy can speak to Benny.
That was a funny scene. It was like, oh, okay, it's not working. Oh, okay.
Yeah. He starts speaking all these different languages. Ah, I loved it so much.
Oh man, that was hilarious. Especially the last one, because you can tell he even changes his tone, though.
Yeah, it's desperate now. But yeah, the set piece ends on the mixed group, the combined group riding for their lives, and the mummy's hand bursting out the sand as a promise of the hunt to come.
Yes.
This was a huge sequence, scenes bleeding into each other into one big scene that runs right through the story's midpoint. It settles most things of the old while setting up how the story will be flowing from now on.
Yes.
As enemies become friends and the hunters are now the hunted.
Right.
So now we're at the midpoint. We're now telling a different story. The situations have now been super reversed as the atheists become the avid believers. As Rick and Evelyn fight over how to deal with the situation, Rick is keen to get away, and Evelyn is keen to fix the issue.
Yes.
Rick, yeah. We get a funny moment as Rick and a drunk named Winston talk, setting up Winston as the pilot. We see the Americans are headed out, but they have to wait one more day, which is already setting up for the next sequence, which is funny because they did that in Frankenstein. Just one more day, guys. I'm sure we'll be fine.
Wait, what happened with the one more day with Frankenstein?
Remember, they were trying to escape Frankenstein after the wedding, and they were like, "Oh, the boat is stuck." So one more day.
Right.
Same thing happens now. The scene cuts to the hurt friend, and the hurt friend is with Benny, and Benny is with the mummy. The Americans discover that, that he's with the mummy, and he freaks out. Everyone is drinking when they discover that all their drinks taste like blood. The plagues are here, but knowing that, they know that he is here. That's the sign that he's here.
Yeah.
Things go haywire as water turns red and people burn up, and as fire falls from the sky. The CG isn't great, but the real shots, like with the fire, that is amazing. Like
no, I mean, there's one where it lands on some guy.
Yeah. And he just gets engulfed, dude. Like it's like they put a 2 liter, it looked like they put like a tank of oil on him and then set him alight. It's crazy.
Definitely engulfed in flames, for sure.
Dude. They go to the room of the friend only to see Benny running away, and they find the friend mummified, and they find Imhotep. They open fire, but it means nothing, and a cat saves the day only as he runs away. They go back to
the cat thing was probably reference to their god, maybe? I don't know.
Cats are the people that run the underworld, yes. They say that later on, yeah. They are the watchers of the underworld. So instead of a 3-headed dog, they've got cats.
Right.
They go back to the library to find the librarian with Ardith Bay, and then the story kind of gets unveiled. They discover the name he's chasing. They discover Imhotep's name. They discover that he's chasing the woman. The name of the woman that he's chasing. They discover. They start to realize that this chase of a woman is an opportunity, but at the same time, an eclipse falls over them, and they realize they need to recover the Egyptologist.
Yes.
But there's a funny moment where all the men need to come out. But they're all like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And the only one that wants to go is the woman who they told to stay, which is hilarious. And then they end up locking her down. And then we cut to the Egyptologist, and it turns out he's being hunted. We discover that Imhotep.
This is Frazier that's doing this. It's not everybody else. He's the one that decided to do that.
Yeah. The rest are like, no, we're fine here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Rick is like, no, let's go. And they're like, no. We discover that Imhotep wants the book as they talk to Benny, but they are too late. Imhotep has the book and the Egyptologist. Now it's down to the 2 Americans. Almost immediately, the next American is caught. Jesus. Okay.
Sorry,
we go to the other side of the door, and we see sand pouring through, and we see Imhotep is suddenly inside while Evelyn sleeps.
Right.
Only now does it dawn on them to keep a cat, because before none of them were holding a cat, but now Brendan Fraser comes in with a cat.
Yeah.
They only have one weapon and they only decide to use it once because, of course. Anyway, they are heavily on the back foot. They're down a book. They're down to only one American left as they rush back to the library to get ahead of the mummy's goal to return his old love.
Yeah.
They decide the book of gold is the goal. The book of gold is the goal, as that could kill him. As they are approached by a massive mob covered in boils and sickness, they are stuck in the library trying to discover where the gold book is. The mob breaks in and they make a run for it. The mummy gives chase. They then drive through the mob, and the last American falls, dude, in this crazy like shooting sequence. Well, no, fighting sequence, as this man decides to just run everyone over. Yeah, the American falls and is trapped. The group's escape falls apart, and they are trapped with a fully recovered Imhotep. Imhotep makes her an offer that she can't refuse, and she offers herself up, and then she separates herself from the rest of the group. But Imhotep stabs them in the back, but they manage to find a way out through a sewerage hole, a manhole. There we go. And they have to leave the head librarian behind, who was taken by the mob. So this is a moment of abject failure for the group. Nothing they've done works. Though I will notice a remarkable lack of cats in this moment. Like, seriously, if it was up to me, they'd all be holding cats. But anyway, it's designed for the
bro. Huh? That's the best thing that would have helped them, especially the guys who opened the tomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they run away, and it's like, okay, but meanwhile, while you're running away, let's go to the pet store.
Yeah, just grab a cat or two.
Yeah. Oh, keep the cat that you have with you.
Yeah, at all times. Yeah.
Where does it go? But yeah,
I don't know. I was asking myself the same question.
But yeah, this is the mid-low point of the story. You can make a clear argument that just like in Die Hard, the story has a midpoint high, which then turns against them and becomes a low point.
Right.
But now because of the new low, they have to rebuild and they carry on their mission to get the girl. In a story of two halves, you'll see that this is a 2-hour movie, and in the middle of the 2 hours lays 2 movies, 1 hour each side. And in the middle of the second half, we are here in our midpoint low, 1 hour, 30 minutes in. If you look at the middle of the first half, which is half an hour in, the 30-minute mark, you'll notice that that's the part where they have to jump off the boat because the boat is burning down.
I actually wanted to ask you, because I remember I was thinking the same thing as I was watching the movie. I'm like, wait, how are we going to determine which act ends and which act begins?
Yeah. When they get on the boat, that's the end of Act 1. But in terms of the actual, if it's 2 different stories, then the midpoint low is when the boat sinks. And then the midpoint, the proper midpoint, the middle of the movie, is a midpoint high. And then in the middle of the second half is a midpoint low, when the girl is captured and the last American dies. So it's cut up into like these 4 equal pieces.
What's the midpoint high then?
The midpoint high, no, there is in this one, the midpoint high is them finding the mummy. And that's the midpoint high. But then as soon as they achieve their goals of unlocking everything, they get the gold, they get the mummy, they get all these things. When they unlock everything, it goes from high to a low. Because remember, mission accomplished is high. They had a goal, and that's to get the mummy and get the book, which they did.
Yes.
So they succeeded in their missions, which led to a failure. And that's so they go from, so it's like up, then they fall apart when the boat burns, then they rebuild, and we're back to up. They unlock the mummy, down, then it goes crashing down, and then you get that midpoint low, and now they have to rebuild again. So in a story of pieces, it actually cuts down very evenly. Incredible.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a clever way to write and clear cut. Yeah, this is very clever and clear cut and well written, in my opinion. Anyway, 1 hour, 30 minutes in, after this midpoint low, after this low point, what they call a dark night of the soul, there we go. All choices have been made, and there's no other choices to be made, which means we're at the end game. Welcome to Act 3.
Okay.
Get our payoff of Winston, who has always wanted to die in battle, and is piloting, and they take to the skies.
Mm-hmm.
They discover a massive tornado, only for us to see that that's Imhotep and how he travels.
Yes.
And they're headed back to the city of the dead. Unfortunately, they discover Rick's plan. Imhotep casts a sandstorm. And I kind of, at this point is when I realized I wish I could remaster these movies. You know, like they did with The Last of Us, or like these other things where like they remaster the graphics.
Yes.
I would love for them to remaster this movie because I think it would really hold up even better.
That's the impression I got initially when I saw what's the name again? Asner what?
Arnold Vosloo.
No, not Arnold Vosloo, his lady. The character in the film.
Evelyn.
No.
Oh, Aknam Sum.
Yeah, Aknum Sum. When that spirit was coming in her body initially, in the beginning.
Yes.
I was like, oh, I wish they could just redo this scene with better graphics.
Oh yeah. Or like that river scene. Oh yeah. That imagine if the graphics are up to date and they had like Planet of the Apes graphics on that movie. It would be a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're engulfed by the storm and they're stuck. Everyone has to use their own knowledge, and knowledge of Imhotep's love, and distracts Imhotep with a kiss.
Right.
The group manages to survive. They crash anyway, but the group manages to survive the crash, which works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works because it tricks the other people into thinking that they're dead.
Yeah.
They discover that Winston is dead. And has died with a smile on his face, thus achieving his dream.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is something very non-Disney that I wish more could have been done with. But I personally like how they don't say anything. They just kind of leave. It felt perfect. Because we kind of get the setup and the payoff for Winston, and then it just ends.
Anyway, there's
Anyway,
nothing else to say about that.
Exactly.
And also, I think the fact that he landed on quicksand, it was the best way to say, guys, let's move on. Let's carry the story.
True. No time for a burial. Exactly. And they don't have to leave him laying there. Yeah, you're right. Kills many birds with one stone. Well, kills one Winston with many stones.
Yeah.
Anyway, everyone now 1 hour 36 minutes in. Everyone is in the tunnels now. Everyone. Imhotep is taking the direct path, and Rick and his gang have to dig their way in. We get a clever remix of the Warden's death, as Jonathan is holding the same bug, but unlike the Warden who was alone and being greedy, well, to be fair, Jonathan is also being greedy, but he's not alone. So he ends up being saved, but when they kill the bug with a gun, that lets Imhotep know that they're in the tunnels and they're alive. So Imhotep sets up a spell and brings back his monks or priests. We get a call back to the light trick on Rick's side where she set up the lights to kind of show the indoor thing.
Yeah.
So now that Rick got shown it, Rick understands it, he shows it as well. Pow, with a gun. Anyway, the monks are woken up and they seem to not have the same immunities as basically Rick and the others shoot their way through while running away. Benny shows up. And unlike the others, who saw the gold, Benny's like, this is everything I needed in my life.
Yeah.
This is my story. It ends here. And he starts trying to collect the gold. While escaping, they find the statue of Anubis. Is it Anubis? No, Anubis is the dog. I forgot what the other statue is.
Horus.
Is that again?
Horus,
yes.
Yeah.
Benny is collecting this gold and actually makes it out. Like you think, oh wow, he made it.
I think there's subtle moments where you actually realize that not talking about Benny, I'm talking about the brother.
Yeah.
I realize that he might be trash, but he's not he's not completely useless. Like he's very useful because he's the one that spoke about the Horus thing, and he's the one that finds it.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And I feel like there's its own message happening here, low key, with how him and the Warden and Benny are basically the same, but because he's not alone.
He's sort of shielded because of that. Like if this was manga or if this was like an anime, this is where the power of friendship comes in.
Oh, definitely.
I'm not alone because I have my friends.
Exactly. And low key, that's exactly what happens. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on, Evelyn wakes up tied to a slab next to the other woman's dead body. Well done for her for letting herself have a rat lay on top of her. Like, that rat was huge.
When I saw that, I was like, wow, she agreed to do this?
Hot damn, it looks bigger than her. Like, Jesus.
Dude.
Anyway, the spell is about to be cast. We cut to the others getting the book out as everyone's bay holds the priest back when he runs out of ammo and chooses to sacrifice himself by WrestleManiaing them. The Book of Gold is found, but they have no.
Like losing your boss right in front of you.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't see it happening because she was already gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Book of Gold is found, but they have no key. But no, they must keep moving. The building music is pushing them forwards. Using dynamite, they blow their way through a tunnel and they take down more priests. On the other side, the mummy has brought forth the spell, bringing Ak-Sunamun. She's awake now. Before Imhotep can sacrifice Evelyn, Jonathan comes up with the gold book.
Yeah.
But I think it's a deliberate distraction as Rick comes up from behind to save Evelyn.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Jonathan helping brings forth. Turns out he can read hieroglyphs, and he brings forth the guardsmen mummies, who clearly are another level of boss character. Like, they have more control, and they have powers.
Yeah, but he took forever to say whatever he had to say. Yo.
The point where it becomes a plot point, yes.
Yeah.
But because he didn't read the whole thing, Imhotep ends up controlling them, and now Rick has to face high-leveled boss creatures.
Yes.
Evelyn is attacked by Ak-Sunamun, who turns out she's awake and active. And now Evelyn has run for her life. Awake, active, and armed. Forgot she's got a knife. And that leaves Jonathan alone to try and finish the spell.
I like those type of moments because usually, yes, we know that, the main character has to, like, look cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, everybody had, like, a hurdle that they had to, like, overcome.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be through hand-to-hand combat with everybody.
Absolutely.
With Jonathan, it's just you, like, deciphering this thing.
Yeah. And because
it's like playing a game of Quidditch, like with Harry Potter. If once he catches that thing, it's done.
100%. And also, don't forget the way Jonathan, it kind of shows their characters. Because remember, she can only run away because she's not a fighter.
Yes.
So, and Jonathan is more of a fighter, but he's not the one under pressure right now.
Yeah, he's more of a marksman.
Exactly. And because he's not committed to the knowledge as opposed to the money, he doesn't know how to read the whole thing fully.
Yes.
So he ends up with like half the reading, and she has to help him.
Right.
And then because Rick is
that was also smart because you don't want to make the sister seem useless.
Yes.
So you come up with a way of making Jonathan slightly a bit more.
Yeah, because technically they're both useless. But yes, I agree.
No,
absolutely. You give them something to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, things are reaching their peak while Imhotep watches TV. This man is watching a movie with us. He just kind of stands there.
You're just watching. Why aren't you helping?
Why are you standing?
Why aren't you helping? Why aren't you helping defeat these guys?
Dog, he's just having a great time.
Like, why aren't you chasing Jonathan or something?
Dog, or help your girlfriend murder the other chick. I don't know. Something. Instead, he's like, this is great, guys. I wish I had popcorn. But yeah. Anyway, things reach their peak. And just as Rick is about to get stabbed, Jonathan gains control and sends them straight after Ak-Sunamun, and they kill her. Again.
Yeah.
Makes Imhotep enraged.
That pisses off Imhotep.
Yep. Finally, he's like, oh no, this is not my favorite channel anymore.
Yeah.
He decides to put down the remote. And so he goes to go kill Jonathan for what he's done, only for Rick to show up to save him.
Yes.
But now Rick has earned Imhotep's full attention.
Yes.
And while that happens, I don't know why this guy isn't sucking Rick dry. He just decides, time to knuckle up. Anyway, comes a fist fight. And while Jonathan and Evelyn look up the Book of Gold, now it's a race against time as Imhotep is just massacring Rick.
Yeah, this is when they were like, Or keep him occupied or whatever.
Basically, yes.
Like no problem.
And what follows is what I imagine the Tyson versus Jake Paul fight will look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
With just Rick getting beaten senseless.
Yeah, dude.
Evelyn finds the required spell, and his soul is dragged away while he's still standing there, watching himself leave. I'm like, hey, is he back to watching TV again? What is happening? Isn't he dead? So it wasn't him per se. What it was his immortality being dragged away. And without realizing it, he gets himself stabbed by Rick. But to his own surprise, he feels it. Yes. Stabbed in the gut, he falls into the river, I assume is made out of mercury or acid or something, as his soul dissolves and you see the faces come up.
Yeah.
As he falls, he says his last words, his face going back to that of the mummy.
That was like a Terminator reference of sorts.
Yeah, it
Terminator 2
Terminator, yeah. It felt very, very, very Terminator. No, that one I agree with you fully.
But you know what I don't get though, before we continue?
Yeah.
The chariots come, collect his soul.
Yeah.
Or his eternity or whatever, but he's still fully active. So I'm like, who did they take there?
I guess they took his immortality. I guess his immortality has his face. They took his powers away.
Okay.
Which is a weird representation.
Yeah, no, that was weird.
That was a weird representation. Like, it shouldn't have been his face.
Yeah, it should have just been like a, I don't know, a spirit. Like we just see that something was taken. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Like a creature, let's say that, like a wild animal gets dragged away.
Yeah.
And then he's still there, like, okay, what was that? And then it turns out, no, it was his power. That would have made more sense.
Yes.
But anyway, he dies, his last words being, death is only the beginning, thereby ending the chaos.
Yes.
Suddenly we get Benny. When we last saw Benny, right? We see him kind of looking at the gold, and he's like, he stops, and he's like reconsidering. And you think, and I thought to myself, okay, this is him.
This is his turning point. I genuinely thought he was
gonna redeem himself.
Repenting, yeah. It's like, okay, let me go help my friend or whatever.
Yep, turns out it's a red herring, because it ends up what he was thinking about was the money. He was like, I could get some more gold out of this.
Yes.
But yeah, he tries to get more gold. And as it turns out, he accidentally set off a trap.
Yes.
And thanks to the weight of the gold setting off the trap, he ends up having to try to run and ends up behind. He could have made it out if he just left the money sooner, but he didn't.
Dude, he was already out.
Ugh.
His greed really messed him up.
And like Scrat from the Ice Age movies, he sets off the whole disaster.
Chain reaction. But also, it goes back to what Rachel Weisz's character was saying, that, look, usually people like you.
Yeah, they don't make it.
They don't make it. And like the punishment comes, the punishment that comes from your actions is going to be dismal. It's going to be crazy.
Exactly. And what's funny is that Benny even reconsiders. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's why I thought. I think that's why almost everybody probably thought he's going to change his ways.
Yeah.
And probably maybe that it was like that in the beginning. I think.
I think it was just a clever subversion of expectations. Like, it definitely caught me. Nice little twist there.
Yeah, it's kind of like, even with the whole taking the eternity thing.
Yeah.
I think initially that's how the mummy died, but I'm sure they were like, no.
Yeah.
It's not epic enough.
Maybe, definitely. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Cool. You can see, that he, like Scratty sets off the pyramid to close down. Rather the entire world to explode. What a button. Anyway, Benny can see things are closing, but he wants the money. He tries to drag the money, but the walls come down. He gives up and he leaves the money to save himself. But it turns out the chaos is not over. Jonathan finds himself caught by the same want of gold, only dragged away by those who care for him. And as it turns out, Benny is right behind them.
You know what you're saying is quite interesting, because even before the Jonathan thing, Rachel Weisz, like when Jonathan loses the book, she wanted to stay to get the book.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Then they drag her. Yeah. Then Jonathan then sees the treasure. He stays, and then they drag her. There's nothing like that for Brendan Fraser.
Oh, definitely, because he doesn't care about any of this shit.
No,
he does not care. Like, it's almost a miracle that he ended up in the City of the Dead in the first place. Like, why were you even there? Do you know what I mean? Like, when this man clears to have learned his lesson,
Mm.
or rather, he knows his priorities. Let's put it like that. Yeah, he knows his priorities.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, all things considered, Rick still tries to save Benny. Even after everything Benny's done, but it's too late.
Mm.
Benny has to run back to the light room with the gold. But even though Benny makes it to the room on time, he's stuck, surrounded by gold. And the light up top is crushed. So I first thought maybe he's going to escape through the ceiling. Nope, that light is crushed.
Right.
It leaves the torchlight as its only light, only for the man eating scarabs to show up. He tries to shoo them away, but one bug becomes an entire ocean that rushes towards him.
Mm.
And he's surrounded by, and as the light dies out, yeah, he ends with him screaming. On the outside, we discover, just as we think, oh, okay, things have quieted down. Whoop. The chaos is not over. The entire city is dying right before their eyes. Pillars and walls come crashing down. The floor is sinking. And then it's rising again. And the entire area appears to implode right before our eyes. But they manage to get away.
Yeah.
And to remind us that we're watching a comedy, we get a bandaged hand fall on Jonathan's shoulder in a great jump scare. And it turns out Mr. Bay is alive.
Yes.
You know, like, you know how many shoulder jump scares they've given us? Like at least two. One, they gave us a jump scare in the beginning with the
mirror
jumping up, which they repeated.
Was that the mirror scene?
No. Yes. No. It's a separate jump scare. The first one, when you meet Jonathan for the first time.
Oh yes, because of the
popping up.
Pops. Yeah.
And then when she opens the thing again, it pops up again. So that happens twice.
Wait, when did she do it the second time?
When they open up Imhotep's corpse.
Oh yes.
So that happens twice. And then the first time on the boat, when Brendan Fraser's hand lands on her shoulder.
Oh yes.
First time, and then a second time, Jonathan gets his hand on the shoulder.
Oh.
It's a nice 2-2. Makes you think. But yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Anyway.
I didn't think of that actually.
He gives his gratitude to them and then just leaves, leaving them in the middle of the desert. Half their supplies probably left
behind. This is something Jonathan says, like, okay, so you're just gonna leave us here, like.
Yeah. Doesn't even look back. But yeah, he's left them in the desert with nothing but the camels. Rick and Evelyn, who have been going through hell, connect with a kiss, taking their love for each other as the win at the end of the day. They're like, yeah, no, this was still a success.
Yeah, it's better than money.
You know, Jonathan's like, how was this a success? Everyone we know is dead.
Yes.
And all I've got is a camel as a girlfriend. They take it so well that they share a camel despite there being like 20 camels. Like, you'd think she'd get tired. I guess not.
Yeah, like it's not practical. Eventually they're gonna be thinking you should have taken another camel.
Yeah. But hey dog, it's a nice moment. And then it turns out the camel they had all of Benny's gold.
Yes.
And with that, they ride into the sunset, ending the mummy. Thoughts?
I enjoyed it. I saw it last 2 years ago with my girlfriend because it was like the first time seeing this particular one. But I guess I wasn't watching it properly because I think we were talking. You know, sometimes when you talk and people are talking and whatever. But now that I saw it properly, man, I love it. I love every moment of it. I think it's I think it would work. You know, there's certain properties that can work in any form. Even if this was an animated film, it still would have worked extremely well. Brendan Fraser as a leading man, brilliant. The Magi also, like we said, is a good-looking man. You know, a good ally, like bad guy turned ally, basically.
I could see him having his own show. Like, it's great.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Imhotep as well.
Great. And what's nice is in the end he's like a big guy. Like, you see the two of them when you see Rick and Bay fighting, they're fighting together, and you can kind of see these are two big guys. And there's even a nice point where like they're digging, and then Jonathan is talking shit, and they both turn at him, and you can just see these two big guys looking down at him. It's a really cool moment, and it just shows that both of them could have been 50-50 in this movie, and it still would have been great.
Yeah, that's how I see him, to be honest. I see him as Brendan Fraser's equal in this movie.
It's just, it's not his movie, so it doesn't
it's just not. Yes. It's just that it's not his movie. It's not his story. He's the narrator, but it's not his story.
Yeah, and they're both the muscle. Because remember, I think Brendan Fraser makes 0 discoveries, as far as I remember correctly.
Yeah, no, he's definitely not the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah, he's not supposed to be, and it works. Everybody makes all the discoveries, which is fine. You remember the movie Blade? Remember Blade, the first Blade?
Yes.
Remember the chick that Blade saves makes all the discoveries?
Yes.
The cure to
blood bank and everything. Yeah.
It's all her.
Yeah.
So like that can work where you split duties. I wish movies could do that more. Instead, what we end up with is the Hermione thing. You know the Hermione thing, right? Where in the movies, Hermione basically is so powerful, she takes some of Ron's skills.
Yeah, I remember you told me that. Yeah. I still need to listen to the audiobook.
Definitely, so you can see the difference.
Yeah.
You need to, and you can.
I'm gonna be hella surprised.
Will be, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, first of all, I would say that this movie, if it was made today, it would have won an Oscar for set design. I want to rant for hours about set design because, in my opinion, a lot of this stuff looks real and lived in. I honestly didn't know that this was a 2-hour movie until I chose it. Like when I chose this movie, I was like, no, man, it's a 90-minute movie. We'll be done in quick.
You know, one thing I'm realizing about us and the movies that we are doing now, I think the first thing I always need to check is the runtime.
Yeah.
Because if Die Hard, remember we were both surprised that Die Hard was like over 2 hours.
Yes. I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe it either. I thought this movie was like 90 minutes.
Dude, I just checked the top. Yeah, you know the top 100 movies on IMDb? I went through there like the first like 30. And do you know how many of them are 90 minutes?
Probably like.
Every single movie is 2 hours. The only one that's 90 minutes is The Lion King.
Is it animated? Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. Lion King, all the other ones, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Like all these other long ass movies, Shawshank Redemption, The Godfather, they're all these
so long. Okay, The Godfather. Yeah. But it's so crazy because you remember at a point, it just seemed like the first movies to ever be that long, like Harry Potter movies and Lord of the Rings movies. Only to find out, no, they've been.
It's been long. It turns out what it is. Now I think I understand it now. Now that I've broken down in this movie, is it's all about pacing. It's the system of pacing. It's
and
why, yeah. Like think about it. Die Hard, it fell into those rules perfectly. This movie fell into those film writing rules perfectly. It's like there's a system of our mental brains, right? Mental brains, our psychology. And it's like for the most efficiency, this is how our psychology works. And whenever we try to do these things, we just end up working against our psychology. It's fascinating. It's why I think some of these artsy films, even though they're fantastic, they don't have mainstream appeal because they don't follow the rules.
Yeah, which is sometimes it's deliberate, but sometimes it's not. But I do get what you're saying.
I can deliberately jump off a bridge too, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea.
I'm just thinking about like people like Tarantino who would do like long linear storytelling and still keep it short. Yeah. And it works. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Or Tarantino who decides to introduce himself halfway through the movie as a narrator in Hateful Eight and rewind the movie and then bring it forward again.
Exactly.
Because he can.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan style. Actually, we need to do a Christopher Nolan movie with the knowledge that we have.
Also non-linear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we already did Christopher Nolan movies, but yeah, we need to maybe do Insomnia or Memento or whatever.
Yeah. Probably Prestige, I think. Prestige is undervalued. But yeah, because I think Memento will actually fit into the system because Christopher Nolan is a video where he breaks down Memento and his techniques, and I think he actually follows this kind of system. So it still falls into the pacing rules.
Yeah, I think I spoke about it in one of the previous.
You did, yes.
Yeah, I think I even showed a movie, the footage of it. Yeah. Where he's with the chalk and everything. Yeah.
Yes. And that just goes to show that there's a system that is the most efficient. Yes, you can go around it, but if you want to achieve your results early, first learn the system. I think it was Van Gogh who once said, before you can break the rules, you must first learn what they are. Yeah. Master the rules, and then you can break them.
Yes.
As opposed to just starting by breaking them and you end up with a boring movie. You don't know how it happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, this
What's your
movie
rating?
pacing is amazing. Huh?
Oh, I was just asking what your rating is.
Oh, I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm not there yet.
Oh,
I don't even remember the start of the movie. I genuinely didn't remember that the beginning of this movie has such a detailed prologue growing up when I was a kid.
right.
This movie doesn't take its time, but rather uses its time while using scenes that will try to achieve multiple goals while hitting the key ones. In terms of storytelling, it runs a straight line, but again, it has fun with that line, using spectacle. The
Right.
boat attack was great, and the individual chases. Growing up, I remember them being more terrifying. But now that I'm older, I find myself having questions. But it picked great punchy moments that not all of them some of them don't do too great to connect, but they still do great. They still are good. But individual moments as an action movie are put together amazingly. The sectioning and overall writing, while staying fun and friendly, Pirates of the Caribbean type movie, that in my opinion is on the same levels as Pirates of the Caribbean 1, if not potentially better, which is considered one of the best movies.
Yes.
It holds up like a mofo. The actors are all great. And I plan on giving this a 7, but now I've talked myself into giving it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Ever find a way to upgrade the graphics, I will be a 9.
Yeah, I would give it an 8.5 actually. That's my scoring.
Nice.
It's impeccable, man.
It is.
This is the kind of movie that you would, if I was a film lecturer, I would show to my students.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because remember, I think I mentioned this before. I like movies where the main character isn't necessarily the center of the story, if that like the grand scheme of the story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
He just so happened to know the place where they needed to go.
Oh yeah. Or like, I hate it when like a movie is like, oh, Steve is here. Oh, now that thing that was supposed to break a long time ago, now it can break. Like if you ever watch World War Z, like Brad Pitt goes to Israel, right? Because he wants to find out more about the zombies. And at first everything is fine. But then when he shows up, through nothing of his own, everything breaks. And it's like, oh, okay, but it broke because you showed up somehow.
Yeah.
So now I agree. It's that whole thing of like, yeah, there must be a part of the world, not the world itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, do you have anything to say before we shut it down?
No. This is a great movie, and I hope we get more opportunities to see movies like this that really hold up.
Hopefully we can also do a review of the second one.
Absolutely.
And don't forget, guys, to check out Rob's book. I'll leave a video like I did previously. And let us know your thoughts. Did you guys love The Mummy? Do you like it? Do you think it's better than the Tom Cruise version? Have you guys seen other versions of The Mummy? Maybe previous movies, the 1937. Because I do know some people, you find that they prefer the original one. Because some people are like that, you know what I mean?
They are very much.
So let us know. Do you guys like Brendan Fraser? Who was your favorite actress or actor in this movie? Do you think Imhotep was right in his? Or do you think like his actions were right or not? Let us know what your rating is. Do you agree with our rating or not? All of those, and also one more important thing: if you know someone that is into movies, and you think they would benefit from watching something like this, or they would enjoy something like this, because maybe they just feel like they're alone in this, because it usually is like that for the most part. Most of us feel like we're in vacuums. Just recommend them to watch this video. I think they would enjoy it. That's because you cannot reach everybody, but I think you guys probably know other people who might know or like that some of these things. But anyway, for myself, Mr. Extrodin, thank you so much. This is African Frame, and this is Rob Sibeko. We shall see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much, and cheers.
Peace.
People across the planet vanish for 168 hours with no recollection of the phenomena. With no one knowing what happened, the media, the government can do nothing, and so life carries on quickly. A month later, in a Japanese apartment, Paige discovers Jin, an old friend who was supposed to be dead. But unlike every other person who'd disappeared, he remembers. There's a pending change that will never leave the world the same. But first, Jin, Paige, Naya, and Drake are in the crosshairs of bigger forces, and a mystical veil that separated humanity from death has started to tear and to survive the night. Jin will have to go to war.